Welcome back to the show. It is indeed an honour and a privilege for me to introduce you to my next guests. They've remained at the top of their career for the last 50 years. Would you welcome, please, joining me in the studio today, Con and Dec, The Bachelors. Welcome to a little bit of Ireland.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolute delighted to have you here. Great.
Lovely. Yeah, I
great
love
to
the
see
show.
you.
Love the show.
Well, brilliant.
You've never seen it?
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't.
It was on the television.
You haven't even got a television.
Right, are you going to tell us how long you two have actually been in the business then?
106 years this year.
It seems an awful long time. In actual fact, we started when we were at school. Dec and I went to O'Connell schools in Dublin, and he learned to play the harmonica there, and I joined the choir under Mrs. Boylan was, and anyway, I learned to sing. He learned to play the harmonica, and then we formed a harmonica trio.
What he's really trying to say is, he learned to sing, I never learned to sing.
I wouldn't say that.
So he's the musical part of the duo, is he?
But anyway, we've formed a harmonica trio, and we did our very first show, would you believe it, at the boxing stadium in Dublin in 1957.
Right.
We were kids at the time.
You weren't the Bachelors, of course, then?
Oh no, we called ourselves the Harmonichords.
The Harmonichords.
And as the Harmonichords, we auditioned, and we did the Hughie Green show, Opportunity Knocks.
Now, there was more than two of you at the time then, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, it's a third chap, called John Stokes.
There were 5 originally.
Oh, right.
It's called the 5 chords.
Right, and what happened then? The money wasn't great, so it dwindled down to 3.
Absolutely.
But it finished up with just the 3 of us anyway. And we did shows all over Dublin, including the Theatre Royal, the Gaiety, you name it, we did it.
Jack Cruz, Maureen Potter, Jimmy O'Dea.
Yeah. We were very lucky because we were very involved with Eamon Andrews, the Eamon Andrews Studios, and they did a takeoff of the Goon Show. It was a thing called Odd Noises, which was on Radio Éireann every Sunday for 25 weeks it lasted, and we playing the harmonicas.
And we were on for
the 25 weeks. We did
so that would have been massive exposure then for a brand new group, wouldn't it?
Unbelievable.
So you became household names, I suppose.
Yes, all over Ireland. So
at what point then did you come to Bachelors?
Well, that was later, because we were asked then to do a tour with Nina and Frederick, and I just started work, to be honest with you, at the unit there in Finglas, just outside of Dublin.
What was that doing?
I went in originally as a draftsman, and then they asked. I was trained as an engineer, mechanical engineer. So I was doing underfloor heating, designing underfloor heating, and for houses, factories, hotels, you name it.
Would that have been fairly new in those times?
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was a brand new scheme they had going.
Right. What were you doing, Declan?
I was digging about, really. Well, you have to understand, I was about 14, 15 at the time. So I was at school in O'Connell's. I did my intercert, as they called it, and got 13, which is GCSEs, I suppose, today. Yeah. And then went on as a scholarship student, very academic, which I loved. Gaelic, spoke Gaelic, did all that stuff. I proudly say I didn't speak English until I was 17. Well, I wasn't allowed to speak English until I was 17. Used to go down to Connemara and Gaeltacht and all that. And then did my leaving certificate and did extremely well. Got 9, which is not bad. I say that over here in England and they can't believe it. It's unbelievable. And then I studied engineering, civil engineering, and only worked for 6 months of my life. Somebody asked me the other night, have you ever had a job that you didn't like? And I said, I've never had a job. Because when you think about it, all I've done all my life is absolutely do every single thing that I loved doing. Engineering I loved. I was very involved in civil engineering. I was with the Chief Civil Engineer's office in CIE in West Larno. Very interested in that, had a stunning time, then came over to England, and of course singing. I mean, what could be better?
Can you remember when you had your first break then, sort of major break?
Well, I suppose that was it, really. coming over on the Nina and Frederick tour, and then that was for Philip Solomon. He was running that show, and then he asked us to go up to Arbroath in Scotland to do a summer season. And we were in Arbroath, and he brought a chap called Dick Rowe up to see us. And Dick Rowe was the head A&R man with Decca Records.
Right, yeah.
And he came up and saw us. He saw us on the show, and Philip Solomon had said to us, he wants all new songs. So he gave us a load of new songs to sing, and we were dreadful on the show. I mean, really dreadful. Nobody would.
Is that because the type of stuff you
all
do?
new. We weren't used to the songs and all that. And the following morning, then we were on stage and we were rehearsing a Carl Denver song. And out of the shadows at the back of the theatre, Dick Rowe came forward and he said, "Why didn't you sing something like that last night? That's exactly what I want." Right. I said, "Well, Mr. Solomon said you wanted new songs." He said, no, that's what I want. I want this stuff. He said, "Now," he said, "can you sound halfway between Frank Ifield and Carl Denver?" And I said, "Well, if you're paying the money, I can sound like anybody." So
of course.
He gave us a song to record, which was Charmaine.
Right.
And we recorded
that was a
Charmaine.
massive hit for you, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And what year was that?
It was released 2 weeks before Christmas 1962.
Okay.
Coldest winter in living memory.
Yeah.
We sat in London and we absolutely froze.
Yeah.
And we were listening. We had a little transistor radio. And we were listening to this radio one night, Con and John had gone back to Ireland as he always did when anything was wrong. We weren't working, there was no money. We'd finished our last spoonful of porridge, genuinely. Our last spoonful of porridge, we were listening to this little transistor radio. Don't know how we afforded the batteries. And on came Charmaine. Said, "Charmaine, new band, Bachelors, number 5 in the charts."
Yeah.
And Con looked at me and he said, "Dec," he said, "I wish it was those fellas." Laugh, for God's sake, laugh.
I can see. Yeah. So that was your first major hit then.
That was the first one, and then.
And so obviously the hits followed thereafter, didn't they?
Oh,
there was quite a few.
Yeah, our biggest one was Diane, I think, and that was in 1964.
Right.
And the thing was that they released Diane. And at that time, I shouldn't say this really, but at that time, if you bought the front page, if you put an advert on the front page of NME, New Musical Express, they put you in at number 17 in the charts, you see. So anyway, we bought the front page, they put us in at number 17, great. Next week, it was out of the charts. So a couple of weeks later, we bought the front page again, went in at number 17.
And the money ran out. We had to do it for real.
And then we said, Dick Rowe said, "This is not working, lads." We had recorded I Believe.
Right.
So he said, "We'll put out I Believe." So in the meantime, we did one program, Ready, Steady, Go. And it was choreographed for us by a guy called Dickie Afton, who was one of the top guys in BBC. And we used this girl, beautiful girl this was, and we sang to this girl who was supposed to be Diane. And next day, I went into the office and our manager, Philip Solomon, was on the phone to the record company. And he said, "How many records did The Bachelor sell yesterday?" And I said, "No," he said, "I don't want the figures for the week, I want the figures for the day." He said 37,000 records in one day, and that's what we were selling as Diane. And it shot straight up the charts, up to number 1. Meanwhile, I Believe was also released. So the two of them shot up the charts, and the two of them were in the top 10 at the same time, which was quite a good club to belong to have
two in the top 5 at the same time, exactly. And that's a serious club to belong to.
Exactly, yeah. It was lovely, yeah. Great.
So, I mean, to date now, you're still touring.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to retire.
Nobody
will let me. Nobody will let me at all.
You're still a very busy band.
We are. We're in Dublin, as a matter of fact.
4th of November, everybody. 4th of November.
And
at
the venue is?
National Concert Hall.
Yes.
So get your tickets now. I can't remember who's selling the tickets. Are you selling any?
No. but I suspect you'll have a full house anyway.
Hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was asking you earlier on, could you remember how many albums that you had released to date?
Well, 75 to date, and in October we release Swinging Bachelors.
Right.
Now, anybody watching this, don't read anything into that swinging bachelors.
Swinging. So what's going to be on this album?
Swinging. Swing songs.
Swing songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're releasing that in October. That looks like being tremendous, and it'll be on the Pie label, which is nice.
Right.
So we're back on the Pie label.
It's fantastic.
as we were
After
before,
all these years.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm afraid as everything happens, time has beaten us.
The clock on the wall.
I would like to thank you both for taking the time to come to us. I know that you've travelled all the way from whereabouts?
Eastbourne.
Eastbourne.
That's in the south of England.
Yeah. And,
those who don't
and
know.
of course you haven't travelled so far, Con.
No.
You're a local?
I'm a local lad. I live in Elland, and it's a lovely spot to be.
Yeah.
A lot of Irish neighbours and that,
Yeah.
and it's lovely.
Well, may you long continue
Thank you.
with your career.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure and certainly a privilege for me to have been able to interview you tonight. The best of luck, and no doubt we'll bump in again soon.
Okay.
Gurv Mo, good.
Thank you very much indeed.
See you again.
Keep it up.
Bye.